Hello, I'm Natasha and I'm a PhD student in the law faculty at Oxford University. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to the interviews which form part of the admissions process for the undergraduate law degree at Oxford. The interviews provide part of the information which is available to admissions tutors in deciding who they can offer a place to study law at Oxford. Tutors also have other sources of information to help them make that decision. These include your achieved and predicted grades, your personal statement, a reference from your school, and your scores on the Law National Admissions Test, or the LNAT. So it's worth bearing in mind that the interviews provide just one aspect of the information that's available to tutors when they're making admissions decisions. That's in addition to all the other information that the tutors have about you and your achievements, and it helps them to build up a well-rounded picture of you as a candidate. The interviews also resemble a tutorial, which is the main teaching method for undergraduate law at Oxford. Often in a tutorial, the tutor will guide the discussion by asking you some questions. The main difference is that in the interviews, no legal knowledge is required. You're not being assessed based on what you know, but rather how you think about things. Not everyone who applies to Oxford will be invited for an interview, but for those who are, the interviews usually take place in early December, following the submission of UCAS applications in October. The interviews are organised by the colleges rather than by the law faculty, and most interviews take place in the colleges themselves. The interviews consist of a discussion between you and two tutors. Usually, the tutors will be involved in teaching the subject that you're applying to study, and in our case, that means the tutors will often teach law at the college where you are interviewing. Everyone has at least 2 interviews. Usually, that means that you have 2 separate interviews at the college which invited you to interview. Sometimes people will have another interview or a couple more interviews at other colleges too. There's no one-size-fits-all way that the interviews are conducted, and that's because it's up to the individual tutors to choose the topic and guide the discussion. What is the same in all cases, though, is that you're not expected to know any law. Some tutors give out a short piece of reading before the interview. It might be an extract from a legal case, or a section from some legislation, or a factual scenario for you to have a think about. Alternatively, you might not be given anything in advance, but you may be given some very short material or some information in the interview room, and you may be asked questions about those. In the interviews, the tutors are considering your ability to reason about a question, a problem, or a factual scenario. Sometimes these are themed around commonplace legal topics, such as crime or contracts, but no knowledge of the law is required or expected at all. Very often, there will be no right or wrong answers to the questions that you're being asked. Tutors are really looking to see that you can reply to their questions thoughtfully with a reasoned and logical response. If you've been given some information in advance or in the interview room, they'll be looking for careful attention to the language and details of what you've been provided with, and they may want to see you apply what you've been told or what you've read to different factual situations. They will also be considering your ability to communicate clearly and concisely. And because members of the interview panel will often be your teachers for at least part of the law course if you're admitted, they'll also want to see that you're engaged and eager to learn. I think there are a few things that it's helpful to bear in mind about the interviews. Firstly, tutors are not trying to trick you or to catch you out. They may ask you things which make you think very hard, and they may challenge some of the things that you say, but that's how they generate discussion and progress the conversation, just like in a tutorial. Second, you're perfectly entitled to change your mind about something you've said if, in the course of the discussion, you decide that you want to do that. On the other hand, if you're challenged about something you say, but you still think that your point of view is right, then you should say so and be prepared to defend your answer. It's not really about the answer that you give, but how you get there, your reasoning. Thirdly, it's completely fine to ask your interviewer to repeat a question if you'd like to hear it again. It's perfectly okay to take a moment or two to think about your answer before you start to speak. You should be prepared to explain your answer by giving reasons to show why you think what you think. Finally, the tutors know that you're likely to be a bit nervous. Personally, I think the best way to make the interview seem less daunting is to think about it as a conversation with a teacher, someone who might eventually become your teacher. That's essentially what it is, and you've been having conversations with teachers for many years. It's just another one of those. The tutors want to see you do your best, and at the end of the day, that's all you can do. So that was a very quick introduction to admissions interviews for law at Oxford. I hope it was helpful, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can email undergraduate.inquiries@law.ox.ac.uk.